The engine sputtered. Warning lights flashed red, casting an eerie glow inside the cockpit. The once smooth flight had turned into a nightmare.
John gripped the controls, fear a cold fist around his heart. His knuckles turned white as he fought to steady the plane, his mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Below, the California desert offered no mercy. The vast, unforgiving landscape stretched out endlessly, a harsh reminder of the stakes. He wrestled the plane, trying to regain control. No time to radio for help, no time to think. Every second counted, no time for anything but a desperate prayer. Then the impact. The world seemed to slow down as the ground rushed up to meet him.
Metal screamed, a cacophony of destruction. The plane crumpled like a tin can, the sound of tearing metal filling the air. The world spun in a sickening whirl of dust and debris. The violent crash sent a cloud of sand and fragments into the air, obscuring everything.
John cried out, pain lancing through his leg, vision blurring. The agony was immediate and intense, making it hard to think clearly. He hung limply, trapped in the wreckage. The twisted metal around him felt like a cage, each movement sending waves of pain through his body. The smell of aviation fuel filled the air, a potent reminder of his dire situation. The risk of fire was real and immediate. He had to get out. Now. Every second spent in the wreckage was a second closer to potential disaster. Summoning all his strength, he began to move. Officer Ramirez spotted the smoke plume first. It was a sight that sent a chill down his spine. The dark, ominous column of smoke was a stark contrast against the clear blue sky, signaling that something had gone terribly wrong. A dark column against the clear blue sky, it was a call to action, a signal that someone needed help and there was no time to waste. Instinct took over. He swerved his patrol car onto the desert road, sirens wailing. The urgency of the situation was clear, and his training kicked in, guiding his every move. Racing towards the crash site, adrenaline surged. The landscape blurred past him as he focused on reaching the source of the smoke as quickly as possible. He grabbed his first aid kit and fire extinguisher, preparing for the unknown. Every piece of equipment could mean the difference between life and death. The closer he got, the worse it looked. The wreckage was more severe than he had imagined, and the heat from the flames was intense. A mangled mess of metal lay burning in the harsh sun. The sight was almost surreal, like a scene from a nightmare. His heart pounded. Was anyone alive? The thought of potential survivors fueled his determination. He had to get to them, fast. Every second was crucial, and he couldn't afford to waste any time. He slammed the car to a stop, grabbed his gear, and sprinted towards the wreckage. Every second counted. The lives of those involved in the crash depended on his swift actions. John saw a figure battling through the dust cloud. The air was thick, making it hard to see or breathe. Each step forward was a struggle, but the figure pressed on, determined to reach the source of the chaos, a beacon of hope in the chaos. Amidst the swirling dust and debris, this figure stood out, a symbol of resilience and courage. It was as if the very essence of hope had taken human form. He tried to yell, but only a strangled cough escaped. The dust choked his voice, making it nearly impossible to call out for help. His eyes watered and his throat burned, but he refused to give up. The officer reached the plane, his face grim as he assessed the situation. The wreckage was extensive and the danger was palpable. He knew time was of the essence, and every second counted.
Hold on. His voice cut through the chaos, offering a lifeline of reassurance to those trapped and terrified. It was a promise that help was on the way.
Ramirez shouted, his voice strong and reassuring. He directed the rescue efforts with precision, his commands clear and unwavering. In the midst of the turmoil, his leadership was a beacon of order. The smell of fuel intensified. It was a sharp, acrid scent that signaled imminent danger. The fumes mixed with the dust, creating a toxic environment that threatened to overwhelm everyone nearby. Fire licked at the edges of the wreckage. The flames were hungry, consuming everything in their path. The heat was intense and the fire's roar was deafening. Ramirez fought with the jammed door, his movements swift and sure. He knew that getting it open was crucial to saving lives. His hands worked with practiced efficiency, every motion deliberate and focused. He finally wrenched it open. The door gave way with a groan and a rush of fresh air filled the space. It was a small victory, but a significant one in the battle against the encroaching flames.
Help me. The plea was desperate, filled with fear and urgency. It was a cry that cut through the noise, reaching the ears of those who could make a difference.
John gasped, his voice raspy with pain and fear. Each breath was a struggle, and his body ached from the effort. The fear in his eyes was unmistakable, a reflection of the dire situation. Ramirez reached in, his grip like steel. His hand was a lifeline, offering strength and stability in the midst of chaos. He pulled with all his might, determined to save John. He pulled John clear just as flames engulfed the cockpit. The fire roared behind them, but they were safe, at least for the moment. It was a desperate struggle for life, but they had made it through. Safe, but shaken, John lay on the desert floor. Medics swarmed around him. He looked up at Officer Ramirez, his eyes filled with gratitude.
Thank you.
John croaked, his voice hoarse. Ramirez nodded, a tired but satisfied smile on his face.
You're safe now.
He said, his voice rough with emotion. The desert wind whistled around them, a stark reminder of the disaster narrowly averted. John closed his eyes, overwhelmed with relief. He was alive, thanks to the bravery of a true hero.